you haven't seen them before, check them out. I do drawing videos, murals, I do sculptures, paintings, I do all type of art, all type of artistry. I make music, but I can't really show you those on the side, you know what I mean? So you that's what these videos are for on the side, just to show you that, hey, I do this art. These reaction videos are just to get me in front of your face, and I'm trying to build, you know, a little community here. So help get me to, you know, monetization, and I'm gonna make some more original content for you. How to paint, how to draw, how to use Adobe products, things like that. You know what I mean? Show some love, show some support, subscribe, like, share, anything like that. Let's get straight into today's video. It kind of actually relates to me as an artist, and it's about photography and the camera industry, I guess. So check it out.
This video is sponsored by Opera and their new Opera One web browser. Now that we all have cameras in our pockets, photography has become more accessible than ever, but not so much the art form it once was. Many years ago, there was a time when photographs were still a horizontal phenomenon, as camera technology had to slowly evolve for decades before finally gaining the ability to stand upright. While parents around the world struggled to develop the perfect stance to master the artistic form, in modern times, however, Gen Z has become much more subtle and relaxed in their photographic style, realizing it's not how you take the photograph that counts, it's the caption you put on it before you send it to our inbox. Because all human beings on Earth have a cell phone camera except my dad, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of reason to get an actual DSLR, but it can be well worth the effort. For example, a lot of girls look at their Instagram and think to themselves, I wish I had professional photos, but I don't want to spend $1,000 on a camera. And a lot of guys look at her Instagram and say, bro, she's looking for a photographer. All I need is $1,000 and I could, like, be with her. Now, in basic economics, this push and pull is called simping, and is the foundation of not just the modern gig economy, but pretty much all of human evolution. The biggest decision you can make is the jump from a phone camera to a DSLR or film SLR camera. This is because of two major factors. Firstly, you can swap the lenses on these bad boys, meaning you never have to worry about where to waste your next paycheck. And just as importantly, they have a much bigger sensor. An entry-level DSLR has a sensor about 5 times bigger by area than most flagship cell phones, and professional full-frame DSLRs have a sensor about 12 times bigger. The reason the sensor is so important is because a big sensor makes your photos look more professional. This is the industry term for a photo of anything with a blurry background, or the kids in 10 years will think was made with Midjourney. Now, newcomers to the field who are getting the hang of their camera inevitably ask the question of, what's the best way to make money as a photographer? And as most veterans in the industry know, the best way to make money in photography is by selling your equipment. With that out of the way, when you get into photography, the most important thing you're going to be doing is figuring out what you enjoy taking pictures of. So let's go through some of your options. Macro photography. Unintuitively, macro photography is for taking pictures of things that are really small, like insects, flowers, or someone's eyeball. Micro photography, on the other hand, is for taking pictures of things that are really small, like plant cells, amoeba, and other microorganisms. While you might have expected me to make a joke about dick pics, I'm not using a macro lens for that. I'm, of course, using a wide angle. Wide-angle photography. Wide-angle photography makes things look way bigger than they are. Tilt-shift photography. Tilt shifts is when the lens angle is altered from parallel and you get this neat miniaturizing effect. If you want to know what the experience is like, it reminds me of those videos where people try a $500 Japanese strawberry and are like, oh my god, this is amazing. Then 5 seconds later, they're like, well, I guess that was it. Wildlife photography. Wildlife photographers are some of the real OG photographers. I wanted to be a National Geographic photographer when I was a kid, so I studied all the equipment and all the creative ideas that won all the photo competitions. And while the judges of the Nat Geo photo competitions clearly never do that, I did discover that every pro wildlife photographer definitely did. And what made them stand out wasn't technical ability, it was that they were willing to camp in a 5-square-foot acrylic cage in the Arctic for a week to take a photo of a polar bear trying to eat them. And that seemed like a lot of work for a photo, but every wildlife photographer I looked up said, your best photo is the one you take tomorrow. The joy is the never-ending search. And that really struck a chord with me, so thus began my first search, which was Nat Geo photographer average salary. And so I said, fuck that, I'm playing StarCraft. High dynamic range photography. HDR photography is taking multiple photos at different exposures and then stacking them together to get more of the scene at the desired brightness. For example, our eyes have a pretty high dynamic range, meaning if you made a campfire at nighttime, you could stand back and see both the campfire and the stars in the sky. But a camera has a much smaller dynamic range, so if you took a picture of the campfire, the stars would be pitch black, and if you took a picture of the stars, the fire would look way too bright. This is the reason why if you watch the moon landing, you can see the astronauts and the moon clearly, but the sky is pitch black. This is because the camera that they were using simply didn't have enough dynamic range to see the LEDs in the studio. Disposable camera photography. Even though the very hipster color palette is caused by the horrendous lens, flash, and camera quality, film is nevertheless a full-size 35mm sensor, meaning you're technically using pro-level equipment. One of the downsides of a disposable camera is that it's fun, which is in strict contrast to real professional photography, which must always be stressful or else you go to photography jail. Infrared photography. Infrared photography is a very niche type of photography that produces photos that look like this. The reason you'd want to take photos like this is because when you show someone, they're going to say, "Wow, those colors are so cool, how did you edit it like that?" Allowing you to tell them that it's not edited, that's just how your new camera works. And as you continue to explain your new hobby to this uninterested bystander, this actually tricks your brain into thinking you've made a friend. Landscape photography. Landscape photography requires two things: going to New Zealand or Norway, and then climbing a mountain. This is way too much work for so little clout, so just use AI for the picture and then avoid your friends for a month and they won't be able to tell the difference. Paparazzi photography. A lot of people criticize paparazzi because they recognize that celebrities have emotions just like everyone else, and anyone can be devastated by an embarrassing photo. When an insecure teenage girl doesn't get as many likes on her Instagram post in the first 10 minutes as she usually does, she gets upset, deletes the app, and wishes she could punch whoever's in charge of Instagram in the first place. Even if you're a billionaire on a super yacht and paparazzi posts a picture of you looking fat, then everyone on Twitter makes fun of you. It's the exact same thought process. First I'll delete the app, then I'll punch Mark Zuckerberg in the face. Sports photography. Sports photography is like the opposite of paparazzi photography. You're just trying to take a photo of a ball, but celebrities keep getting in the way. Portraiture. Now, when it comes to portraits, there's so much diversity for photo shoots that there's really something for everyone, and so it really depends on what you want to do. For example, glamour. I want to shoot models for the covers of magazines. Pet. I want to shoot cute animals frolicking with their owners. Wedding. I want to shoot couples to remember their special day. Yearbook. I want to shoot high school kids. So now that I'm demonetized, if you ever decide to become a professional photographer and get your first paid photo shoot, you might panic that the client might not like your photos. But don't worry, there's no way that the client can dislike your photos because you left your SD card at home on your laptop. Now this is going to suck for the first wedding you ruin, but once you've moved cities to avoid those people, from now on you'll make sure to always have 16 memory cards from years past that you've never thrown away, even though most of them could barely hold a Mario Party save file. This compulsive hoarding also applies to batteries, second and third cameras, tripods, flashes, laptops, and literally yourself, which is why almost all pro photographers have an assistant photographer, just in case they themselves have a heart attack during the shoot and disappoint the client. This level of paranoia might seem excessive, but it's nothing compared to when you have to fly somewhere with your equipment and the check-in lady says, "Okay, your bag is checked through to Los Angeles." My mistake, I meant Las Vegas. And you're just there thinking this is not going to be a good trip to Vancouver. The joke, of course, being that you're flying Air Canada, so you were never leaving the airport anyway. If you're new to gig work, the unfortunate reality is that much like being a Reddit moderator, you'll very quickly realize that your income doesn't relate to how much you think you deserve, it's based on how much other people think you deserve. Meaning the hardest part of trying to be a professional photographer isn't taking the photos, it's dealing with the clients. Because you have to remember the freelance paradox. The lower the budget, the higher the expectations. If you're offered $500 to shoot a wedding by someone on Marketplace or Craigslist, you're going to get a CVS receipt of instructions, 20 unannounced edit requests, and then they're going to ask for a discount because they didn't look like Ana de Armas and James Bond like they asked for. In contrast, if a corporation pays you $5,000 and flies you out to shoot an industry mixer, you'll send them a couple of sample edits to see what type of photos they were looking for in the final package, and in 25 seconds you'll get a message back saying, "Money sent."
Yo, gang.
Well, this might seem like the opposite of what you...
No, that is so true, yo. I can speak to this like perfectly, bro. That is so true. Bro. I've had clients where I'd call like thousands, bro, hundreds to thousands of dollars, bro. And they'll just be like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. You know what I mean? Like it meant nothing to them, right? You just stand up, you call your price and stand up on it firm, right? And they'll just be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll pay that. You feel me? And then the people who I'm like, alright, you can't really afford it. Alright, let's negotiate. How much can you afford? 500. Them will be the ones who'll be like, I don't like this. Can you redo it? Can I get another one? Can you do it again? Always want some, and it's like, dog, what? Like, it just doesn't make sense, but that is so true, bro. That is so true. So true, bro.
Expected, this phenomenon is easily explained by my golden rule of bureaucracy. Give me a problem, and I'm willing to spend any amount of someone else's money to solve it. Ultimately, photography has become more difficult than ever to make a living, and almost all professional photographers have now transitioned to video and content creation because many of the skills of composition, lighting, framing, and emotional storytelling carry over to video and can make a lot more money, whether it's many-vids, clips for sale, or just vanilla OnlyFans. And while ex-wedding photographers are now following the money instead of God, ultimately, that's just basic economics. Speaking of basic economics, as a YouTuber, I make my income from ads, which is why whenever I get a new computer or use a new web browser, the first thing I do is get an ad blocker. I do this, of course, to remind myself that my own livelihood is hanging on by a thread. But today's video sponsor, Opera, has recently released a new AI-integrated web browser, Opera 1. This
guy is hilarious. Alright, gang. So, I'm adding some glitter here. Oh, don't you hate that when you aren't recording? Crazy. But yeah, damn, I missed all that. I'm adding some glitter here, as you could see. And well, none of that was recorded, so this part that you're seeing is the end result of it, I guess. But yeah, I was coloring or adding painting because I got this glitter paint. And you know what, gang? See y'all in the next one.